Welcome to Reddit After Hours. This is r/RelationshipAdvice, where OP's husband literally gets arrested for assault after going off the deep end and accusing her of cheating. Our first Reddit post comes from OK Code 6742, titled, "My partner of 2 years is adamant that I'm cheating, but I'm not." Just for a bit of context, we've been together for about 2 years. He has 2 kids and I have 1 kid. They're kind of irrelevant to this story though. We live apart as I bought a home a few months before we started dating and are together only when the kids are with their other parent. Now, he's the guy that's treated me the best of all my relationships and I love him dearly. I'm a chronically anxious and stressed person and he's absolutely been my peace. But today, he completely sucker punched me with this. For some reason, he's absolutely convinced that I'm cheating on him. The reason he suddenly started thinking this is because 2 days ago, I wanted to show him something on my phone. There was an irrelevant tab open, like on my Hotmail account that's full of spam or something. I've had this account for like the past 24 years because I mostly use Gmail, so it's kind of irrelevant. He saw, and quickly in passing, there was a folder with a man's name on it, let's say like James or something. Now, I don't remember what the purpose of this folder was. It's empty and it hasn't been touched in like 15 years, so I really don't know why it exists. It was probably useful at some point, but I have no idea why. Well, now he's convinced that either 1, I closed the tab too quickly, 2, I was acting weird and nervous and suspicious, and 3, this must mean that I've cheated or that I'm actively cheating. That, of course, is his perspective. Now, on to the actual truth. I am absolutely not cheating on him. He's the man of my dreams, the love of my life. I have never given him a single reason to even suspect that I'm cheating. I once spent an entire week with him at his place, and I never once hid my phone or anything like that. When I'm at my house, it means that I'm with my kiddo and my time is 100% devoted to her. I also work a lot. There's not a single second in my life where I would even have time to devote to another person, even through email. I spend my downtime at home being with my kiddo and my cat, watching YouTube videos. I send him a lot of pictures of me chilling with my cat as well, and we have a constant communication going when I'm at home, and I am very chatty through text with him. Anyway, at first I was super pissed and also confused because why on earth would you not trust me? What is even happening? No matter what I say, he says that I don't make any sense whatsoever and he's just, quote, adding 1 + 1 to him and the answer is 2. I keep telling him that he's the one that's not making any sense. We're back and forth on texting and he doesn't even want to speak over the phone or even come over to talk about it. At this point, I've sent numerous screenshots of my email with unopened emails that go back more than a year. I've sent screenshots of me typing the keyword James in the email and nothing coming up. I've shown him the completely empty sent folder, which is actually kind of weird to me because I know I've sent numerous emails over the years, so I'm not sure why that's empty. And I've also given him the login and password so he can even look for himself. I've accumulated a lot of junk in that email over the years that I've had it, but I rarely use it now. This email is mostly just the reciprocal of all my Amazon orders, my McDonald's app receipts, and various spam emails. I'm pissed that he doesn't trust me. He says he needs time to think, and I'm stuck in this loop of being pissed, confused, and sad. I don't even know what's going on anymore. And then, after a couple days, we got this update from OP. So, it did not end well. After 48 hours of back and forth through text because he refused to even speak to me over the phone or face-to-face, and giving him my password so he can go check for himself that nothing was screwy, he still wouldn't back down. At this point, his behavior was becoming concerning, and I thought that he may be having a complete mental episode going on. It was getting too much. He was texting me at all hours of the night, trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense in the first place. So I ended up blocking him. When he realized that I had blocked him, he started sending emails to my work email, asking me to check my Hotmail, which literally had nothing different in it. When I blocked his email, he decided to message my best friend and tell her, if I can't talk to her, I'll go through you instead. My friend has literally nothing to do with this whatsoever. She never replied and is sticking with me because she's also seeing how crazy he's acting. So I thought that was that. But yesterday at work, I was visibly sad and distressed, and my whole team gave me a hug and offered support, and I had lunch with my other good friend and colleague. So the day goes by, and I get off of work at 4 p.m. I'm walking to my car in the parking lot, flanked by two colleagues, and I'm kind of explaining the whole story. They go to one of the girls' cars because they carpool, and I walk towards my own car, which is parked about 2 rows away. I hear a loud man's voice behind me, and I turn around, and it's him. He's walking very quickly towards me and still talking nonsense about emails. I hold my hand up and I say, I am not doing this with you right now, all while calculating whether I'm actually safe to go to my own car or not. He was screaming at me that I was a whore and other obscenities, and I've never seen him like this before. A little energy pushed me to turn around and go to my colleague's car. At this point, I'm shaking and scared. I enter her car and I start hyperventilating. They're like, we'll drive you home, don't worry. He was about 6 feet from the car with hate in his eyes, monitoring me get into their car. We drove off and I kept apologizing to them, crying and looking behind us the whole trip to make sure that he wasn't following. When I came home, my mother was there and I just broke down crying. She called the cops for me. A nice officer told me over the phone, quote, I have nothing else going on right now. You're my priority, and I'm coming to see you as soon as I can. He came to my home, took my deposition, and was extremely patient and understanding. He also explained everything that he was going to do after. My ex was placed under arrest for criminal harassment with certain conditions to follow. Not sure about the legal terms here, but they did not handcuff him or take him to jail. It was just a verbal thing, and he will probably be summoned into court at a later date. Then OP goes on to add that she's with people that care about her and that she believes that she's safe. Then she goes on to give us this edit. I just had a 2-hour conversation with his ex. Let's call her Jess. Jess is not the mother of his kids, but the girl that he dated in between the mother of his kids and me. A very interesting conversation happened. She said that she has lived exactly the same situation as me, minus calling the cops. She told me that he was ultra controlling, physically and verbally abusive to his 2 sons. He had a bad drug habit, an unhealthy/borderline inappropriate relationship with the mother of his children, and that he was psychologically and sexually abusive towards Jess. She told me that he used to put her on a pedestal, same as me, but that he had a lot of behavior problems. I've noticed these behavior problems recently, but I chose to ignore them because I love him so much. I hope that he gets the help that he needs. And then OP adds in a second update, he's following me. I saw him twice a day where he shouldn't have been. I documented that and sent it to the police. They're super nice and understanding and are going to look for him. Thank God. OP, I'm glad he at least went to jail. It sounds like this dude has a lot of issues and has no problem being mentally, physically, and or sexually abusive to his partners. I'm glad that you finally did something about it. And actually, if you do get an order of protection against him, be sure you read it, because a lot of those order of protections, at least in my state specifically in Illinois, if you try to contact somebody through somebody's friend, that's still a violation of that order of protection, and you can still go to jail for it. Either way, I'm glad you were able to get away from this guy. Our next Reddit post comes from Throra Scout 9042, titled, My mother was given away for adoption, and now her bio siblings are asking her to care for her 96-year-old bio mother. So I, a 35-year-old female, grew up in the U.S., born and raised in Austin, Texas. My father, who's 70, is Canadian, and my mother, who's 68, is Greek. Every summer, we vacationed in Greece with my maternal grandparents. When I was 25, my parents retired and moved permanently to Greece after my mother inherited a house and a significant amount of money from her mother when she unfortunately passed away. That's when things took a strange turn. During the last few months of my grandmother's life, my mom went to Greece to care for her as she was no longer able to take care of herself. In her final days, my grandmother revealed a shocking secret. My mom was adopted. She wasn't the biological child of the parents who raised her. Instead, she was the daughter of my grandmother's cousin. Apparently, in Greece, decades ago, it was common for struggling families with many children to give a baby to a relative that couldn't have kids. My mother was absolutely devastated. She grieved the fact that she never really knew her real family and that no one ever told her. After my grandmother had passed, she decided to move to Greece to connect with her biological family that she never met. She traveled to the region where her biological mother lived and met her for the very first time, along with two older brothers and a younger sister. Her oldest brother was especially emotional because he vaguely remembered the day that they gave my mother away as a baby. But from the start, my mom was really hurt that none of them had ever tried to find her. Their excuse was that she had moved to the US and it was difficult to track her down, while her biological mother said that she made a pact with her cousin, my adoptive grandmother, never to reveal the truth. The entire village had been told that my mom had passed away as a baby, so no one ever questioned it. Now, for the past 10 years, my parents have lived in Greece, and my mom has built a close relationship with her siblings. However, her relationship with her biological mother has remained distant and formal. She never got over the fact that this woman kept all of her other children but gave her away, likely because she was a girl. At the time, boys were valued more because they worked the fields and contributed to the family's income, whereas girls were seen as a burden. 2 years ago, I was able to move to Greece as well, since the parents who raised my mom left her a sizable inheritance, and it allowed us to live comfortably, and honestly, I preferred the lifestyle here. We live in a beautiful place near the capital, and life is peaceful. Now, here's the issue. My mom's biological mother is now 96 years old and in very poor health. Her biological father passed away decades ago due to a political circumstance. Her two older brothers and her sisters all live abroad and have been taking care of their mother, but they are exhausted. Their wives are complaining, tensions are rising, and at a recent family gathering, they told my mom that she should also help take care of their mother because it's, quote, unfair that they are doing it alone. My father was furious when he heard this, and he told my mother to cut them all off entirely. My mom refuses to take care of this woman. She doesn't love her. She doesn't feel any emotional connection to her whatsoever, and she can't forgive her for abandoning her. My mom is not close to this woman at all, and of course, this woman has no legal claim to any of my mom's inheritance from her family. However, she has truly enjoyed her relationship with her siblings and her siblings' children, and she doesn't want to lose that. She's feeling pressured, though, and she's deeply upset by their demands. When I found out, I was livid. How dare these people ask my mother, knowing full well that she was abandoned and that no one even attempted to find her? I feel like they're manipulating her, and she's unable to see how unfair this is. I'm getting married to my fiance in about a month, who is also Greek and fully supportive of me, and I am seriously considering uninviting all of them from the wedding. I want to send a clear message that we don't want contact with them anymore. However, my mother is hesitant about this because she doesn't want to escalate things, even though she's the one that's hurting. I feel like she's not as attached to these people as she thinks. She's mourning the idea of the family that she never had rather than truly loving these people, and I hate seeing her being taken advantage of. I always idealized Greece and the strong bonds of family, but now I see that that's not always the case. I'm so disappointed by all of this. So, Reddit, what would you do in this situation? Would you cut them off? Would you disinvite them from the wedding? How can I help my mother navigate this? Edit, I forgot to mention something that I also think is important. My mom suggested that they find a senior care facility to put her biological mother in. She even offered to pay a quarter of the price. My biological uncles were, quote, offended because they said it was disrespectful to their mother to put her in a nursing home, which is another Greek thing. Although they are generally financially comfortable, and a quarter for a good structure can mean about 400 to 500 euros per person per month, which by Greek standards is enough. I think that their idea of help is taking her biological mother home for a few months. OP, I don't even think that it's a question of what you should do here. She should absolutely cut all of them off 100%. She abandoned her as a kid. Like, yeah, I mean, people do things for all types of crazy reasons, but she's right. She abandoned her and kept all of her other kids. That has to sting more emotionally than anything else I can probably imagine right now, right? And you yourself being the daughter, if I were you, I would disinvite all of them to the wedding too. I would send a strong message myself that you don't want any contact with them. You think they're all entitled brats and you don't want any of them a part of your life. And listen, I'm not saying that she has to hate her mother for abandoning her, but she has every right to not feel anything towards her. She doesn't have to love her. She doesn't have to want to take care of her. She has no obligation to her whatsoever. Our next Reddit post comes from Onyx831, titled, "He accidentally answered his phone and I heard everything." So, as the title says, my boyfriend answered his phone accidentally and I heard everything. I've been concerned about his alcohol use, and we've had many conversations about it over the past few months. I, a 27-year-old female, caught him, a 31-year-old male, drinking straight out of a Captain Morgan bottle in the cupboard last week because I saw that some was missing. I asked him about it on the phone, and then he denied it completely and got annoyed at me and said that his son heard me getting angry with him, and it's led him to being upset. So now he's mad at me, and he said that he needs some space from me to be on his own because he's fed up of being made to feel like crap by me and that he can't do anything right. He's had space since Sunday now, and we've hardly spoke. I rang him once or twice to check in, and he said that he missed me and that he loved me, but that he didn't want to come home still and that he still needed space, but that he will probably be back on Thursday and carried on making Valentine's Day plans with me, like everything would be okay. Today, I heard nothing from him all day again, so I rang him at 10 to check in. He had no signal, nothing was going through to his phone, but he was supposed to be home by now, so I was really confused. I called and called again, and finally he answered by accident. I then heard him and a bunch of lads clearly drunk. He got into a car with his brother driving around and drove for a minute or two to a house somewhere. I have no idea where he is. His brother was walking around the country, so I don't know if his brother came back or if my boyfriend went to him. It was him, his brother, and another person. His brother called my boyfriend's old best friend that he said he doesn't speak to anymore because we had issues about him lying about her and because they had slept together before we got together, and I've always had trust issues with their relationship. My boyfriend was asking her what's happening on the 22nd for her birthday and that he would be there. They then started talking about cocaine, and my boyfriend sat with his card racking up lines as they all joked around. I had no idea that he even did drugs. Is this new or just something that he hid really well from me? At this point, I'm in absolute shock. Clearly, this is why he didn't want to come home, and he had this planned while making me feel like I was the piece of crap and giving him space. I'm so hurt and confused that I rang the mental health team, but there's nothing that I can do. I text and I told him and his brother that I heard everything and that I was on the phone for an hour and a half. I'm sat shaking and so confused. Where do I even go from here? He won't even answer any of my texts or calls now. Is there anything that I can do, or is this just it? I think he's going to leave me if I don't leave him anyway, so he can go have fun without me and me making him feel like crap. We have come so far, and it's nearly our 3-year anniversary. We have a whole holiday plan to go see my family in April and have been saving to move out of my mom's house. I don't know how to move on from this, and my trust is completely broken. And the fact that he can see that I'm distressed and just ignored me after this really hurts. And then OP goes down to say, "Thank you, everyone. I do know the obvious, and I'm just really struggling to accept it. Does anyone think that all of this can be fixed by therapy if he agrees to go, or is this a lost cause?" OP, I understand that people sometimes make mistakes in relationships, but this goes far, far beyond just a mistake in a relationship. He completely lied to you. He gaslit you about needing some space so he can go hang out with his buddies and hang out with his ex-best friend that he slept with once upon a time. That's not okay. And people that care about each other don't leave people that are in distress at home crying by themselves. Like, he couldn't even have the decency to at least pretend that he was sad and upset, that he upset you and that he was caught or anything like that. He just let you be at home crying and didn't have a care in the world. He just wanted to, presumably go have some passionate hugging with someone else and didn't care what you did. OP, screw him. There's no saving this. He is not even worth you saving this relationship for. You sound like a really nice person, and someone else, I'm sure, will enjoy that compassion that you're going to give them. In any case, though, I'm sorry you had to find out that way. That must have been incredibly hurtful, and no one deserves that. That was Reddit After Hours, bringing you r/relationship advice. Thank you all so much for listening, and if you like these stories, like and subscribe and leave a comment down below for any future Reddit subs that you would like to see us cover, as we put out new Reddit videos almost every single day.